You see him across the room. Something's different about him. He doesn't smile like the others. He doesn't perform. There's a weight in his eyes, a silence that feels like an entire conversation. And without knowing why, without any logical reason, the strongest woman in the room feels pulled toward him. Not the loudest man, not the richest, not the one trying hardest, the broken one. This isn't a coincidence. This isn't some tragic romantic pattern that only exists in movies. This is psychology. This is energy. This is power wrapped in scars. And if you've ever wondered why the most self-sufficient, emotionally intelligent, deeply grounded women are drawn to men who carry pain, you're about to understand the dark, uncomfortable truth that no one talks about. Because broken men don't attract weak women. They attract the ones who've survived their own darkness. The ones who know what real strength looks like. And the ones who mistake depth for connection. Let's go deeper. Strength recognizes strength. But here's the part most people miss. Strength also recognizes survival. When a woman has built herself from nothing, when she's healed her own wounds, fought her own battles, and stood back up after being shattered, she doesn't relate to the man who's never been tested. She doesn't feel seen by the man whose biggest struggle was choosing a career. She feels nothing for the polished version of masculinity that's never been broken, because she knows what it takes to rebuild. And when she looks at a broken man, she doesn't see weakness. She sees someone who's been through the fire, someone who knows pain, someone who might understand her in ways that no one else can. That's the first layer. Recognition. She sees herself in him, not his brokenness, his survival, his quiet endurance, the fact that he's still standing even though life tried to destroy him. That resonates. That feels real. That feels like someone who won't judge her for her own scars. But there's something darker underneath, something more dangerous. And this is where the attraction becomes a trap. Strong women are fixers, not because they're weak, not because they lack boundaries, but because their strength was forged in solving problems, in holding things together, in being the one everyone leaned on when everything fell apart. Their identity is built on resilience, on being the anchor, on being the one who doesn't break. So when she meets a man who's broken, her instinct isn't to run. It's to stay. It's to help. It's to prove that her love, her loyalty, her presence can be the thing that finally heals him. Because if she can fix him, it validates everything she believes about herself. It confirms that her strength has purpose, that her pain wasn't wasted, that she's not just strong, she's powerful enough to save someone. And this is the lie she tells herself, that loving him is an act of strength, when really, it's an echo of her own unhealed need to be needed. Broken men carry a certain gravity. There's a depth to them that most men don't have. They've seen the bottom. They've lost things. They've been humbled by life in ways that strip away the ego, the pretense, the performance. What's left is raw. It's honest. It's real. And for a woman who's tired of surface-level connections, tired of men who talk but never feel, tired of relationships that look perfect but feel empty, that rawness is intoxicating. It feels like finally someone who gets it, someone who won't pretend, someone who won't run from the hard conversations. But here's the problem. Depth isn't the same as emotional availability. Pain isn't the same as intimacy. And a man who's been broken isn't automatically a man who's ready to build. She mistakes his silence for mystery, his detachment for strength, his emotional unavailability for complexity. And she convinces herself that if she just loves him enough, stays long enough, proves herself loyal enough, he'll finally open up. He'll finally let her in. He'll finally choose her. But broken men don't heal because someone loves them. They heal because they choose to. And most of them aren't choosing. They're surviving. And there's a difference. Broken men don't chase. They don't perform. They don't try to impress. And for a strong woman who's used to men who want something from her, who need her validation, who constantly seek her approval, this feels like freedom. It feels like finally a man who doesn't need her. A man who's complete on his own. A man who won't drain her. But that's not what's happening. He's not emotionally independent. He's emotionally shut down. He's not giving her space. He's incapable of closeness. He's not respecting her strength. He's using it as a shield so he doesn't have to show up. And she interprets his distance as respect, his silence as confidence, his inability to commit as him being selective. She tells herself he's different. He's deep. He's worth the wait. When the truth is, he's just unavailable. And she's confusing unavailability with value. This is the cruelest part. Strong women don't stay because they're weak. They stay because they see potential. They see the man he could be, the man he was before life broke him, the man he might become if someone just believes in him. And that vision becomes more real to her than the man standing in front of her. She falls in love with his potential, not his reality. And she spends months, sometimes years, investing in a version of him that doesn't exist yet, waiting for him to heal, waiting for him to choose her, waiting for him to become the man she knows he can be. But potential isn't a person, and waiting isn't love. It's hope. And hope, when it's one-sided, becomes suffering. Here's what she doesn't realize. Her strength is exactly why he can stay broken, because she holds the relationship together. She compensates for his emotional absence. She makes excuses for his lack of effort. She convinces herself that love is supposed to be hard, that real connection requires sacrifice, that if it were easy, it wouldn't be worth it. And he lets her, not because he's cruel, but because he's comfortable, because her strength allows him to avoid his own healing, because as long as she stays, he doesn't have to face the truth about himself. He doesn't have to grow. He doesn't have to change. He can stay in his pain, stay in his patterns, stay in his brokenness, and she'll still be there. She becomes his emotional crutch, and she calls it love. Broken men aren't attracted to strong women because they want to be saved. They're attracted to them because strong women don't demand anything. They don't complain. They don't leave. They endure. They understand. They give space. They're patient. They're loyal. And all of that sounds beautiful until you realize what it actually means. It means he can take without giving. It means he can withdraw without consequences. It means he can keep her at arm's length emotionally while still having her presence, her support, her body, her time. He's not looking for a partner. He's looking for someone who won't ask him to show up. And strong women, because of their own wounds, because of their own need to prove their worth, because of their own fear of being too much, often accept that role. They tell themselves it's not settling. It's understanding. It's maturity. It's real love. When really, it's self-abandonment disguised as strength. There's a reason why the strongest women often end up in the most emotionally exhausting relationships. It's not because they're broken. It's because their strength has become their prison. They've been strong for so long that they don't know how to ask for softness. They've been the anchor for so long that they don't know how to let someone else hold them. They've been the healer for so long that they don't know how to receive care. So when a broken man shows up and he doesn't ask anything of her, doesn't expect her to perform, doesn't need her to be anything other than present, it feels like relief. It feels like finally she can just exist. She doesn't have to be strong. She doesn't have to fix anything. She can just be. But that's not what's happening. She's still being strong. She's still fixing. She's still holding everything together. She's just doing it quietly and calling it love. Let's talk about the biology of this attraction, because it's not just emotional. It's chemical. It's primal. It's hardwired into how we're built as human beings. And understanding this will help you see why this pattern is so hard to break. When a woman meets a man who's been through trauma, who carries pain, who survived something that should have destroyed him, her brain registers him as genetically strong. Not physically strong, psychologically strong. Because survival is the ultimate test. And a man who's survived signals that he has resilience. He has adaptability. He has the capacity to endure. And on a subconscious level, that registers as valuable, as someone worth investing in, as someone whose genetics are worth passing on. This isn't conscious. She's not thinking about reproduction. She's not calculating survival odds. But her body is. Her instincts are. And they're telling her that this man, despite his brokenness, or maybe because of it, is valuable. Add to that the oxytocin response. When she nurtures him, when she listens to his pain, when she holds space for his wounds, her brain releases oxytocin, the bonding hormone, the same hormone released during childbirth and breastfeeding. The hormone that creates attachment, that creates loyalty, that creates the feeling of deep connection. So every time she helps him, every time she supports him, every time she shows up for him when he's struggling, her brain is chemically bonding her to him. And the more she invests, the more bonded she becomes. The more bonded she becomes, the harder it is to leave. Even when every logical part of her knows she should. This is why strong women stay longer than they should. It's not weakness. It's biology. It's chemistry. It's the way her body has been designed to attach to someone she's invested in. And the more broken he is, the more she invests. The more she invests, the deeper the bond. The deeper the bond, the more trapped she becomes. And he doesn't even have to do anything. He just has to exist in his brokenness. And her body does the rest. Now let's talk about the role of childhood wounds. Because this pattern doesn't start in adulthood. It starts in childhood. And the strongest women, the ones who end up with broken men, almost always have a specific type of wound. They grew up being the caretaker, the responsible one, the one who had to be strong because no one else was. Maybe she had an absent father. Maybe she had a depressed mother. Maybe she had younger siblings she had to raise. Maybe she had to be the adult in a house full of children. Whatever the specifics, the pattern is the same. She learned early that love is conditional, that care has to be earned, that her value is tied to what she can provide. And she learned that being strong, being capable, being the one who doesn't need anything is how you survive. So when she grows up and meets a broken man, it feels familiar. It feels like home, not because it's healthy, but because it's known, because it activates the same neural pathways that were carved into her brain when she was young. The pathways that say love equals sacrifice. That connection equals responsibility. That if you want someone to stay, you have to be useful. And she doesn't question it. Because to her, this is what love looks like. This is what relationships are. You find someone who needs you, and you prove your worth by how much you can give. But here's the truth. Familiarity isn't the same as compatibility. And just because something feels like home doesn't mean it's where you belong. Let's talk about what actually happens in these relationships. Because the attraction is one thing. The reality is something else entirely. In the beginning, it feels deep. It feels meaningful. It feels like finally a connection that matters. He opens up to her in ways he doesn't with anyone else. He shares his pain. He shows her his wounds. He lets her see the parts of himself he's kept hidden from the world. And she feels chosen. She feels special. She feels like she's the one person who truly understands him. The one person he trusts. The one person who gets to see the real him. But what she doesn't realize is that he's not opening up because he trusts her. He's opening up because she's safe. Because she doesn't judge. Because she doesn't demand. Because she accepts him exactly as he is without asking him to change. And that feels like love to her. But to him, it's comfort. It's convenience. It's a place where he doesn't have to grow. As time goes on, the dynamic shifts. She starts to notice that she's the only one investing. She's the one initiating conversations. She's the one making plans. She's the one showing up emotionally. She's the one doing the work. He's present, but not engaged. He's there, but not invested. He's with her, but not fully. And when she brings it up, when she asks for more, when she expresses her needs, he tells her she's being too much. She's pressuring him. She's not giving him space. She's not understanding his process. And because she's strong, because she's patient, because she's been conditioned to believe that love requires a sacrifice, she backs off. She gives him space. She tells herself he needs time, that he's healing, that if she just waits a little longer, he'll come around. But he doesn't come around. He stays exactly where he is. And she stays too, waiting, hoping, believing that her love will be enough. Months turn into years, and she's still waiting, still hoping, still believing, and he's still broken, still distant, still unavailable. And she's exhausted, but she's too invested to leave, too bonded to walk away, too afraid that leaving means giving up. means failing, means proving that her love wasn't enough. So she stays, and she suffers, and she calls it loyalty. Here's what broken men won't tell you. They know. On some level, they know they're not showing up. They know they're not meeting you halfway. They know you're doing most of the work. They know you deserve better. But they stay anyway, not because they don't care, but because they're scared. Scared that if they leave, they'll never find someone who accepts them like you do. Someone who doesn't judge. Someone who doesn't demand. Someone who loves them despite their brokenness. So they stay in the middle ground. Not fully in, not fully out. Just enough to keep you there. Just enough to keep the connection alive. Just enough to keep you hoping. And you interpret that as I'm trying, as I'm making an effort, as progress, when really, it's just maintenance. It's just enough to keep you from leaving, but never enough to actually build something real. This is the trap. And this is why so many strong women waste years of their lives on men who are never going to choose them. Let's talk about the moment everything changes. Because there is a moment, a turning point, a realization. And it's different for every woman, but the feeling is the same. It's the moment she realizes that she's been loving a version of him that doesn't exist. That she's been waiting for a man who isn't coming. That she's been investing in potential while ignoring reality. And that no amount of love, patience, or loyalty is going to change him. It's the moment she sees clearly, without the fog of hope, without the filter of what could be, just what is. And what is a man who isn't choosing her, who isn't showing up, who isn't doing the work. And in that moment, something shifts, not dramatically, not loudly, but deeply. She stops making excuses. She stops waiting. She stops hoping. And she starts choosing herself. This is the moment strong women reclaim their power. Not by trying to change him, not by proving their worth, but by recognizing that their worth was never in question. That they don't need to be chosen by someone who's unavailable to prove their value. That walking away isn't giving up. It's waking up. And when she walks away, something interesting happens. Sometimes he panics. He reaches out. He apologizes. He promises to change. He tells her everything she's been wanting to hear. And she has a choice. She can go back. She can believe him. She can give him another chance. Or she can keep walking. And the strongest women, the ones who've truly learned the lesson, keep walking. Not because they don't love him, but because they love themselves more. Not because they don't believe he can change, but because they know it's not their job to wait around and find out. Not because they're bitter, but because they're free. And that freedom is worth more than any potential, more than any promise, more than any version of him that might exist someday. Here's the final truth. Broken men don't attract strong women by accident. They attract them because strong women have been taught that their value lies in what they can endure, and how much they can give, and how long they can stay. But real strength isn't staying. Real strength is knowing when to leave. Real strength is refusing to shrink yourself to make someone else comfortable. Real strength is understanding that love shouldn't feel like carrying someone. Real strength is recognizing your worth and refusing to settle for anything less than you deserve. And the moment you embrace that, everything changes. You stop attracting broken men. You start attracting whole ones. You stop proving your worth. You start living in it. You stop waiting to be chosen. You start choosing yourself. Because you deserve a man who's already doing the work, who's already chosen to heal, who doesn't need you to complete him, but wants you because you add to his life, who sees your strength and doesn't take advantage of it, who matches your energy, who shows up, who stays. And until you find that man, the strongest thing you can do is refuse to settle. Refuse to dim your light. Refuse to make yourself smaller. Refuse to call it love when it's really just you giving everything and receiving nothing. Because broken men will keep showing up. They'll keep being drawn to your light, your strength, your capacity to hold space. But you don't have to let them stay. You don't have to save them. You don't have to prove anything. Your strength isn't meant to be someone else's crutch. It's meant to build your own life. And the right man won't need you to save him. He'll be whole enough to stand beside you. That's the truth. That's the power you've always had. It's time you use it.